Hello, and thank you for joining me for another adventure in Thrifting with Purpose. Today we're going to make folding scrapbooking cards. These are wonderful cards. This is not an idea that's unique to me. It's been around for quite some time. I just thought I'd take the time and share with you a couple of cards that I have made and how to make them. This is a card that I made for my husband just before we were married 10 years ago. Those are movies he was in when he was a young man. He loves to ski, and he is a fuss button. And those buttons are from his mother's sewing box. He loves to be out in the garden, and that's his meadow. So this gives you an idea of how you can fill this card for a special someone in your life. I think they make wonderful cards for anniversaries, birthdays, just any occasion really, especially a wedding. How wonderful, or graduation. What a wonderful idea. Now this card I made for him this year, our 10-year anniversary. Those little adhesives that you get at the craft floor do not stick very well. I would suggest using clear school glue. Let's get started. You'll need clear glue. I use this darning wand to press down the folds of paper. You'll need scissors for paper cutting and pinking shears. You want to keep some stick glue handy. I just forgot to include that in this demonstration. Now you'll wonder why I include this in thrifting and repurposing, because you can thrift paper just as easily as you can thrift a piece of china or a pot or pan. Ribbon, all the ribbon is thrifted. This is cardstock, and these pads can be quite expensive at the craft store. I thrifted this paper cutter for $2. On Amazon, this style sells for about $20. These are papers that I've pre-cut for our project. I purchased those at the craft store for 25 cents a page. They were on sale that day. This is cardboard that I've pre-cut from book covers, old boxes. And this particular paper, or cardboard, I'm sorry, is from the back of an art pad. That paper's so pretty. I pre-cut these for the craft fairs this year, but there weren't any, so I'm going to make a bunch of cards for this coming season. These are covers that I've already pre-made. Paper is so much fun. It's so pretty. I'd love to find some paper that is like the 50s bark cloth. This is what you can use and repurpose for the backs. Old decorative boxes that are damaged, or game boards. Instead of throwing them away or sending them to the thrift store, use them. You can use them in reframing a picture, use them to support a picture in the back, all sorts of purposes. Now here's your craft paper, and that paper is going to be two different colors, one on each side. One side will have a variation of the color on the other side, and they need to be trimmed just slightly from their original size. This is a card that I made just before we began filming, so I could demonstrate to you what it looks like as it's being dried. I think they're so much fun. So almost all the ingredients to these cards in our project today have been thrifted. These clips come in very handy. You can buy them in bulk at any large big box store, and I keep them at every station in the house where there's activity. In the garage, in my husband's office, at my work table, in the family room. I can apply more pressure evenly with the darning wand. This is the tricky bit. And I almost stopped the camera to do this, but I thought, no, we'll just keep moving. I start to get nervous and you'll see my hands start to shake. My husband might be comfortable being in front of the camera, but I am not. My father wasn't either, and I have 2 sons that are very camera shy. Out of my 5 children, I have 2 that are quite camera shy. We're almost there. Now the darning wand, it makes a nice sharp fold. And they pop up at the craft stores quite often, actually. Once you get the hang of it, it goes quite smoothly. That little X on the black felt is so I keep my hands in the center so I don't go off camera. I'm slowly learning this process, and you get to learn along with me. There we are. You'll need 3. I could not make a 3 to save my life that day. So these are some pre-cuts, and I chose this paper to demonstrate the 2 different colors of paper on either side, and that comes into play when putting these cards together. Now I'm going to show you where this particular page fits. So that'll fit that way. So that if it's turned that direction, it's the end piece. If it's turned that direction, it becomes the middle piece. And I'll show you that in this particular book. And that really does come into play, especially if you want all your colors to match. So that one's going to be flipped upside down, and it's going to become the center. If I can get this correct here, that's going to become your center page. You can add as many pages as you like, but you want to make sure that you flip them the right direction when you're folding them. I have made that mistake a couple of times before. This is a fun craft to share with your young people. I made these with my son. I went to his 6th grade class, and I showed his classmates how to make these for, I believe it was for Mother's Day. And it was fun, and they did a fine job. He's 18 now. But that was a fun day. darning wand gives it a really nice crisp fold. That's why I use it. And one more fold. Now I repeat this process several times. This way you can see how it's done and stop and start the video instead of going trial and error yourself and fumbling around as I did when I first learned how to make these. This idea has been around since the 90s, and I just think it's a lovely idea. Now you can see the ends are not quite tidy. Don't worry about it. I tend to fret sometimes about the imperfections, and it's just something that I have to learn to not do. It's an easy cleanup with your paper cutter. Don't worry about it. As this card is being filled with memories, those edges are not going to match exactly anyway, so just try not to worry about it too much. I want you to enjoy this project and not fret over the imperfections. Sometimes it takes me a couple of hours to do a voiceover because I get nervous and I fret over the imperfections. Save your little bits and pieces. We're going to be doing a project down the road called paper quilling, and those little pieces will come in handy for that project. And it's something that another project you'll want to do with your young people. It's quite fun, and you can make lovely gifts for friends and family. Now see how they fit together? The one flipped over in the middle and it becomes a center so all the pages match. And when they don't, you just say, oh yes, I meant to do it that way. And then you'll obsess about it later and not be able to sleep. That happens to me sometimes. Now my work area is a lot bigger than what you can see here. I'll take you around my craft room in a video and give you some ideas. What I did is we went and bought the least expensive bathroom vanities that we could. I think they were $29 a piece. We bought 3 of them, and then we just bought one solid section of countertop that someone would cut for their bathroom or kitchen, and laid it right down on top of the vanities. And right there, you have an instant computer area and sewing station. Very inexpensive. I saved up for that. We got everything on sale, and my husband used his wisdom discount for that at the time. And then I got old enough to have a wisdom discount. I love these little colors, this pink and blue. What a lovely little baby card that would make. Such pretty colors. Very mid-century colors also. What a lovely mid-century card it would make. I wouldn't suggest using stick glue for this. I have, but I found that some of the brands of stick glue don't stick as well, so I just opted to use the school glue for this particular project from now on. And you can the waves in the paper will smooth out, and you can use an iron to press them out. Again, don't fret over things like that. Now, I always have a master for all my patterns, even paper projects. So I've pre-cut this, and I keep my master patterns tidy in a binder, and I use report cover pages to separate all my patterns and my ideas. When I share my craft room with you, again, I will share some of those binders with you, and it'll give you some ideas how to organize your thoughts and projects that you'd like to do, things that you admire. I got that idea from my mom, and she would make little folders and scrapbooks of things that she enjoyed. My friend and neighbor Pauline, she does the same things with recipes. Pauline is a wonderful cook. I am not. Now I use the clear glue for this one, and I will use the stick glue for the next side and show you the difference. Now you're going to want to develop your own style of cutting the corners and the edges. This is not a particularly streamlined way of doing it. But you'll get into your own little system. You just want to cut away the edges so they're not bulky under the corners. There's the stick glue. It's handy for doing the inside. It goes quicker and it's less bulky. And this is going to be glued down to your paper anyway. So if it doesn't stick, it's not going to matter. I just pressed down really hard and used extra for this. See how there's ripples? Those will dry out and go away, and you can use an iron to press them out. Make sure you use a towel between the paper and the iron. Now you see how I've creased it? I'll show you in a moment how I did that, so that I don't crease that one paper side all the way through. So I just creased it up to that point, and I have a reason for doing that. Such pretty paper. It reminds me of Victorian and Edwardian wallpaper. That is why. These little cards were what I made and showed the children how to make when my son was in 6th grade. You can make them quite small and use all your scraps for those purposes. This was my year. I went through my thrifting cupboard and my craft cupboard, and I used up a lot of excess papers and ribbons and tulle, and completed several projects. And I emptied quite a few boxes and totes. Not that I have a lot, it's just to me I emptied quite a lot and completed several projects. This year, my craft fairs are going to involve a lot of mid-century and vintage repurposed items. And I'm mainly known in my area for making birdhouses and bird feeders. I do love handwork out in the garage and things like that. In an upcoming video, I'm going to be sharing with you a little kitchen, 1950s kitchen that I actually made last spring, and we just haven't filmed it yet and started baking in it yet, but I'll be sharing that very soon with you, probably next week. I'm kind of all caught up now, especially after our windstorm, and I will probably get started with that next week, and maybe Dumpling the hamster will come in and she'll bake some cookies. That might be kind of fun. When my son and I decided to change the name of the channel, we chose The Eclectic Thrifter because I like to do all sorts of things, and I like to use my thrifted items in those many projects that I like to do, and so that's how we landed on our new name. What a pretty color combination. What fun. And there's the inside of our book. I'm trying to wrangle some ribbon. There we are. Now, those polka dots don't matter, but if you have a print like the birds, again, make sure it's right side up, because I have made that mistake before and I went, really? And you have to take it apart again and re-glue it. Now here's some of my thrifted ribbon, and you can find full rolls of ribbon at the thrift store for $1/4. It's truly amazing what you can find at the thrift store. There's a channel that I just love, and it's called Sugar Charm Shop. I'll try and remember to put it in the listing below. And she stopped doing her projects on YouTube because people kept commenting, oh, you must be very wealthy, and just saying horrible things. And I think she's from Denmark. And she just stopped posting her wonderful polymer clay craft. I think she's still on Instagram. I don't have Instagram right now. I don't have any social media. I'm on YouTube. But it was very sad because she was such a talented young lady, and she is a nail stylist, I believe, in Denmark, and she worked hard for the little bits of equipment that she has, and she just stopped posting on YouTube. And that was a few years ago. But she's still there. Her old images are still there. If you want to enjoy something that is just amazing, go to Sugar Charm Shop. She's wonderful. There we are. Now, when you set your pages, I keep the points to my lower right. You can put it up any direction, but I find that the lower right opens the card quite nicely, especially when you're arranging all the memories. Give it a tap and make sure it's nice and even. And this is where your clips come in handy. as you've seen before, but they're very handy. You can tell how many times I've done a voiceover. If my voice starts to get grainy, that means I've made a lot of mistakes. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this little project, and I hope you have fun making your own cards. I certainly enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed sharing my time with you. And this is our last card that we're going to be making. And then you have to go and make some more cards yourself and enjoy thrifting all the ingredients. But do watch for those coupons at your local large named craft stores, because they come in handy. 50 and 60% off. That makes your budget go a long, long way. I buy my glue by the gallon, and it might take me a year or two to go through it, but it's certainly economical that way. And I just buy the empty ketchup dispensers from the dollar store, and that's what I use for any glue. As you can see, I forgot to trim the edges on these pages, but that's all right. I'm not going to fret about it. See, I just noticed that. But I'm not going to worry about it. And again, those handy dandy clips. Now you're going to cut your ribbon a little extra long so you know how large the bow is going to be, and then just trim off the excess. And you can save those small parts of ribbon for junk journaling, so nothing goes to waste. And there we have it. Well, thank you so much again. Please like and subscribe, and you have an absolutely delightful day.